In any event, we already do have some of the lines being drawn. There is going to be an election for mayor in Victoria. There have been some rumors in Saanich. There have been some rumors in Langford, for instance. There is going to be an election for mayor in Esquimalt. The current mayor cannot expect re-election by acclamation. Her challenger is in studio, and there may be more. Who knows what will happen in the next few months, but a challenger is in studio with me this morning, and I'd like to take this opportunity to introduce. Now, you probably know a lot of folks in Esquimalt already. Scott Attrell, good morning, sir.
Good morning, Frank. How are you?
Oh, just fine, thanks. Thanks for coming in. So, you're not currently sitting on council.
No.
Your candidacy for mayor is, I have to say, a bit of a bolt of lightning to me.
Get ready for more than that.
Okay. Why? What motivates it? What's under your skin that's caused you to get involved to this degree?
I've been a businessman in the Esquimalt area for 15 years, in the Victoria area for 30 years. And I can tell you, being a businessman in Esquimalt and having all these municipalities, doing all these projects with lackluster timelines, they say a project for an intersection will take 6 or 8 months. It takes 2 years. They say a bridge should be 8 months, and it takes a year and a half. Just recently, every time I get my business going, these idiots get in the way. And I'm not here to listen. I'm here to talk. I closed my business today to come here to talk with you and the people out there. The reason why this happens is because the municipal turnout, not only for people running for council, but also people going to vote, is dismal, especially in Esquimalt at 18% the last election. Mayor Barbara Desjardins got in with 1,200 votes. I've got 2,500 people in my database that come to my shop routinely to get haircuts. I'm not here to present my campaign with anyone else's ideals, with any challenging notion that someone's going to override my ability to have a reason to make decisions. The citizens of Esquimalt will decide if my ideas and concerns are valid and worthy of their vote. Now, when you run for the mayor of any area, you also run to be a director of the CRD.
Yeah, it's true.
And this is where everything's getting messed up. And the CRD has blown everything up. Everything they've touched, they've blown up in the last little while. And I've seen it over and over and over again. That includes the septic treatment plant. It includes the table scrap program. It includes all of the infrastructure building. It includes the reduction of lanes and increase of bike lanes and flower pots, which has created congestion. The greenhouse emissions are going up, not down. If they're concerned about an environmental answer to the traffic, this is not it. You need the traffic to flow through. The only mayor I think that has any merit in the whole of Victoria is probably Stuart and Langford, and that's because he allows for access.
All right. Well, more specifically, you've touched on some of the issues. I understand that. Your differences with Mayor Desjardins, certainly. She's been critical of some of the decisions the regional district has made. So I have to wonder, are you in fact on the same page on sewage treatment, for instance?
No, I don't think so. Mayor Barbara Desjardins and council went into negotiations. At one point, they had $55,000 a year for the next 5 years, plus bike lanes on Lyle. So they were going into negotiations. I'm with Dr. Keith Martin, who said at the very beginning of this whole episode, he said the septic treatment plant is a $1.2 billion boondoggle that will cause more damage to the environment than it prevents. And he also wrote to the environment of the Minister of Environment, Barry Penner, with all due respect, your position is not supported by the facts. Basically, it was told by Dr. Keith Martin that he made stuff up to make this happen.
So, as mayor, Attrell would call for and do what he can to stop the project entirely.
Entirely, and
it wouldn't be, is Macaulay Point the right place for it, or is McLaughlin Point the right place for it?
Yes, I'm going along with Rebecca Warburton of the UVic, who stated that the CRD refuses to listen to scientific and academic communities. She stated that the problem with the federal authorities categorized this as a high risk and must be reassessed. And that's exactly what will solve this problem.
All right. So let me go to the phones here. I got one of our listeners wants to have a word with you. Kevin, good morning, sir.
I'm curious what your guest's view is on amalgamation.
Okay, fair enough.
Got to happen.
Yeah, that's
got to happen. And the reason why I want to get on the board of the CRD is so that I can actually tell these people they're being morons. Because look what they do with the table scrap program. They had all these buckets bought up. They distribute them all over the city. They have people separating their garbage, and they got like table scraps under the kitchen sink, so they got fruit flies flying all over the place. Then they put it into a separate bucket. It doesn't have a lockdown mechanism, so they have to use some kind of a bungee cord. And then the raccoons or the rats come out. How did the Black Plague get started? Does everybody remember history?
So, and the point being that CRD has difficulty identifying a place to take the scraps to process.
Wouldn't you think you'd have that done first?
Yeah. All right, Kevin. Thank you for that. I do want to ask you a couple of things specifically about municipal issues. I knew regional would come up.
Had to,
but. If I understand correctly, and you and I have had a couple of conversations prior to this appearance today, I understand that the one issue that drove you to make this declaration, to run for office, is the improvement project that is planned on Admirals Road. Correct. Your business is on Admirals.
Correct.
That's why you were affected. I take it by the bridge project. You're talking about the Crayflower Bridge, and certainly that's well publicized. And there's another episode coming, apparently.
Absolutely. Look, the whole area has been inundated with this cycling and pedestrian master plan idea that is again a birth child of the CRD. They believe they're going to force all these people on bicycles and make the driving of cars inconvenient. It's not going to happen. We live in Canada. It's 4 degrees in the winter with driving rains and high winds, and the roads. I mean, Ryder Hegenol was a client of mine, and he said, the reason why I'm a great cyclist is I have to, because the city has so many challenging hills.
So it's difficult to cycle.
It's made for an athlete. Now, if you want to have a cycling network, and I'm not an anti-bike guy, I've been penned that, but I'm not. If you want to have a network, like the Galloping Goose or the A&N Trail, then do it through the whole city. And where it crosses a busy road, have an overpass or an underpass. Now, I know that sounds expensive, but we're already taking the gas tax from the motorists. We're already taking that money and investing it in the wrong way. And this is because the CRD can't think past another rational idea, which would be to get them off the roads altogether. They don't have insurance. They don't have a license. They strap their kids to the front of their bicycles. My God, these plastic seats, have you seen them?
Yes.
Got to be crazy.
Yeah.
I would never do that. If you hit a pothole, your kid's face is first to hit, and then the bicycle and you after. And those death buggies they drag behind, this needs to be off the road, folks. If you drive by on your bicycle past 100 cars, because the tailpipe's pointing your direction, you're sucking in those emissions. And because you're exercising, it's going down into your deep tissues. You don't need that. It's going to cause cancer.
So, specifically the Admirals Road project, you mentioned the gas tax.
Mm-hmm.
Esquimalt is receiving, I believe, is the figure $1.9 million gas tax being contributed to this project on Esquimalt Road, which is not going to create any new lanes for vehicle movement. It's going to create bicycle lanes and turning lanes and flower planters. And
have you ever been to a concert?
Well, yeah.
Okay, and 8,000 to 10,000 people.
Yeah.
What would happen if you're at a concert and the guy running the show decided to only open 2 of 6 doors at the end of the concert? What would you think would happen?
Well, there'd be a crush trying to get in and out.
Right, and people might get hurt. Right, there'd definitely be people being pissed off.
Okay.
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, that's what Mayor Barbara Gijon and council are doing. These people come to work in Esquimalt. This is a road of destination, not a through road. They have to come here to work. When they leave to work, it's going to be much worse because those 2 lanes are the exit lanes out of that so-called arena. then they come here Monday to Friday.
Yeah. You're talking both the base and the
shipyard.
The Victoria shipyard, the public works property, and there's a lot of traffic there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And since the bridge is open, it's gotten worse. I've been there 15 years, Frank. 15 years. And I've watched this traffic. I've watched all this infrastructure, millions of dollars wasted. That overpass at the airport, my God, who's the brainchild of that thing? And what happened? Nothing. Is exactly the same as 15 years ago. If I blink my eyes 15 years later, the traffic stays the same because no one's brought forth the ideas of solving the problem. They're always trying to... It's called social engineering, Frank. It doesn't work.
Want to ask you about building height, land use density, and policing, the contract with Victoria. Candidate for mayor in Esquimalt is Scott Attrell. We'll continue our conversation with him after this break on CFAX 1070.
Beyond the headlines, Frank Stanford on CFAX 1070.
Scott Attrell is in studio with us this morning. He's running for mayor in Esquimalt. On the phone, Stephanie. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. I wonder if I can ask your guest. He says he's in favor of amalgamation. What does he think that would look like 6 or 7 communities or one big one?
Yeah. How much thought have you given this, sir?
The problem with amalgamation is that you actually have 14 different councils at this point, and it's spread over a wide area with a lot of varying concerns. The problem with having so many is that you have the incompetence coming in because you can't get good quality individuals running for council. The pay is very minimal. So if you had a larger segment of the city under the control of one council, then you could afford more for the councillors and probably get better people in office.
Not one super city.
I'm not going to work super hard at getting amalgamation happening. That's not where I'm coming from right now.
What about, now this is a real life question in Esquimalt right now. What do you think of the amalgamation of the police force with the Victoria? Do you think Esquimalt succeeded in these negotiations that dragged on for almost 2 years and finally produced the new operating agreement to govern this thing?
Just before the election they came to agreement. The thing about it is that the whole Esquimalt area has been mourning the loss of their own police department, including a lot of the people in council, for too long a time. The Victoria Police, I have a couple of clients that are from the Victoria Police, and they came into my shop, and they say, you know what, we don't even like to come into Esquimalt because we're not appreciated. That's a message that the mayor sends directly to the PD. And you know what, they've done a pretty good job in Esquimalt. They've cleaned it up. We don't have nearly the types of problems that we do. Every once in a while we get a blast from the past, but it's pretty good. I would give them accolades and pay my bill.
All right, fair enough.
If you can't afford the safety for your citizens first, well, then what can you afford?
Yeah. Well, that's a clear statement. Tell me about high rises. How high would you go? Is a 10-story maximum about right? Would you go 12? Would you go 18?
I would go as high as 18 to 24, and the reason there's some areas in Esquimalt that have been downtrodden since I've been here in 78, the Constance area. If you build 24 stories, 3 towers, you're not only going to get the people from the military buying those condos, but they're going to have water views from about the 5th floor up. You have to go up in Esquimalt. There's no more land available. We just built this great big huge fire department. It's massive. It's probably the largest building in the whole of Esquimalt. I'm sure they can fit a couple of very expensive, very, very modern fire trucks.
All right. Back to the phones here. Greg, good morning, sir.
Hi, Frank. How are you?
Fine, thank you.
Hey, Scott. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I was kind of curious. You know, I'm kind of glad that you're actually running because it really, from my point of view, and I've been in Victoria a long, long time. I come from View Royal, and it's hard to take Esquimalt seriously with all the stuff that's going on. You know, and it's hard to take their councillors serious. I talked to one of their councillors about the Craig Flower speed limit. There's along the golf course there. They put it in at 40 kilometers. They've got a trunk road along the side of it. It's a main thoroughfare coming into the city. We've got a provincial default of 50 kilometers. It just doesn't make any sense. I talked to one of their councillors. he, I guess, lives up that way or something like that. Maybe he wants to make his mark on the world or something. I talk to their own traffic people, and they don't understand it. And he was just completely adamant that this is what we should be doing, or this is what should be done. And I just don't get it. Now, I don't know what you think about these 40 kilometers, but you know what? It doesn't make any difference along that area. It's a main thoroughfare coming into Victoria. I don't understand what they're trying to do, and maybe you can shed some light on it.
I sure can. If you look at Craigflower Road and the design of Craigflower Road, it has just been recently finished, and it is done by a completely incompetent staff. And I'm not using that word lightly. When a bus pulls in, half of the bus sticks out into the intersection, and the other half is met by that flower pot, and everyone has to stop for a cyclist or a granny to get off the bus. And every time that bus stops, everyone else has to stop. That's not increasing traffic flow. That's decreasing and frustrating the end user, which is all part of the pedestrian and cycling master plan brought to you by the CRD and these boneheads that signed into it.
All right. You're not pulling any punches.
I'm not. You know what? Remember the old movie Network? I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take it anymore.
I don't want you to protest. I don't want you to riot. I don't want you to write to your congressman because I wouldn't know what to tell you to write. I don't know what to do about the depression and the inflation and the Russians and the crime in the street. All I know is that first, you've got to get mad. You've got to say, I'm a human being. God damn it. My life has value. So, I want you to get up now. I want all of you to get up out of your chairs. I want you to get up right now and go to the window, open it, and stick your head out and yell, I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
I do remember that line, absolutely. Craig, thanks for your call. I have to put this on the table. You're not a member of council.
No.
I've often offered, for what it's worth, the opinion, and generally I stand by it, that one does need to have done a term on council in order to just to learn the ropes, how things operate administratively.
What if you want to cut the ropes? What if you want to end the cycle of suffering for the whole area, and you say, you know what, I'm not going to listen to staff. I don't need a staff report. I got a brain in my head. That's why I ran for mayor.
Well, you need to know how a council operates, how it interacts with the municipal staff. How
you know what?
How to run a meeting, for instance.
The staff in Esquimalt and the city hall, they don't have anybody going there. There's probably, the times that I've gone to council, there's maybe been 5 people, maybe 6. The only time it was full was with the septic treatment thing, and that's because everybody had a vested interest in it, right? They're not bringing in the population that are concerned of what's going on. They're pushing them away. In fact, I had an opportunity to go into the input meeting for the Admirals Road corridor.
Yep.
And what happened was I got yelled at by Tim Morrison. Now, I had my baby daughter in my arms. I was expressing a concern about them reducing lanes on that road, and he was yelling at me and my baby. And eventually I had to remove myself. Now, my democratic rights with the Esquimalt Council have been throttled on several different occasions. Mayor Barbara Desjardins accepted a petition I put together that had over 780 names on it, and yet in the minutes of the meeting, it said that I presented a document with a few signatures against the proposal. These people came in my shop on their own time to sign this petition because they didn't want this to happen. No, I'm mad. I don't care about setting forth or being part of an organization that exists currently now. I want to reshape it.
Scott Attrell, your campaign is underway. I thank you for joining us this morning.
Sure.
Good luck to you. And you're going to, I sense you're going to shake things up.
I'm going to make things happen, Frank.
All right.
That was easy.
Coming up at 10 o'clock, CFAX 1070 News with Steve Duffy.